In the heart of the African savanna, where the sun-kissed grasslands stretched as far as the eye could see, there lived a majestic lion named Bobby. His golden mane glistened in the sunlight, and his piercing green eyes seemed to see right through to the soul. Bobby was no ordinary lion. He was brave, courageous, and strong, with a heart full of kindness and a spirit that shone like a beacon in the night. Bobby's story began on a warm summer afternoon, when his mother, a fierce and loving lioness named Luna, gave birth to him in a secluded cave nestled beneath the roots of an ancient acacia tree. Luna was proud of her newborn cub, and as she looked into his curious eyes, she knew that Bobby was destined for greatness. As Bobby grew, Luna taught him everything she knew about the ways of the savanna. She taught him how to hunt and how to protect himself from predators. She taught him the importance of family and loyalty, and the value of compassion and understanding. But most of all, she taught him the meaning of bravery. Bobby was fascinated by the stories of his mother's adventures, of the great deeds she had done and the many battles she had fought. He would listen with wide eyes as she spoke of her exploits, and his heart swelled with pride. He knew that he wanted to follow in her footsteps, to become as brave and strong as his mother. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, Bobby grew stronger and more confident. He began to venture out into the savanna, exploring the vast grasslands and learning about the creatures that lived there. He made friends with a wise old tortoise named Max, who taught him about the importance of patience and perseverance. He met a mischievous mongoose named Midge, who showed him the secrets of the savanna's hidden world. But Bobby's greatest adventure was yet to come. One day, a fierce and powerful hyena named Scar began to terrorize the savanna. He was a monster of a creature, with razor-sharp teeth and a heart full of malice. He roamed the land, preying on unsuspecting animals and causing chaos wherever he went. The animals of the savanna cowered in fear, and many wondered how anyone could ever stop Scar's reign of terror. Bobby, determined to prove himself, set out to confront Scar. He knew that it wouldn't be an easy task, but he was convinced that he could do it. He marched bravely towards Scar's lair, his heart pounding in his chest and his paws trembling with anticipation. As he approached the lair, Bobby could feel the ground shaking beneath his feet. He could hear the sound of Scar's menacing laughter, and the stench of his rotting breath filled the air. But Bobby did not flinch. He stood tall and proud, his mane bristling with determination. "Scar, I've come to stop you," Bobby declared, his voice ringing out across the savanna. Scar turned to face the brave young lion. His eyes narrowed, and his jaws snapped with fury. "You think you can stop me, little lion?" Scar sneered. "I'm the greatest hunter the savanna has ever known. I'll crush you beneath my paw like the insignificant insect that you are." But Bobby was not intimidated. He stood his ground, his eyes locked on Scar's. He knew that he had to be brave, to show Scar that he would not back down. "You may have power, Scar," Bobby said, his voice steady and firm. "But I have something that you will never have. I have courage. And with courage, I will defeat you." Scar laughed, a cold and mirthless sound, but Bobby could see the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He knew that Scar was afraid, that he was beginning to doubt his own strength. The two lions faced each other, locked in a fierce stare. But as the moments ticked by, Scar's confidence began to wane. He realized that Bobby was not just any ordinary lion, that he was a force to be reckoned with. And so, with a final snarl, Scar turned and fled, abandoning his lair and his reign of terror. The animals of the savanna cheered as Bobby emerged victorious. They celebrated his bravery and his strength, and they knew that they had found a true hero. Bobby, still proud and unflinching, walked among them, his mane shining like a halo in the sunlight. As the years passed, Bobby became a legendary figure. Animals from far and wide came to hear his stories and to seek his advice. He was a wise and just leader, a true king of the savannah. And though Scar had long since fled the land, Bobby never forgot the lessons that he had learned. He knew that bravery and courage were the qualities that truly mattered, and he lived his life according to those principles. One day, a young lioness named Arya came to Bobby, seeking his counsel. She was a beautiful and fiery creature, with a spirit as wild as the savannah itself. But she was also afraid of the unknown and uncertain of her place in the world. Bobby listened to her story, his ears attentive and his heart full of compassion. He knew that he had been in a similar situation before, and he knew the fears that Arya felt. "You are afraid, Arya," Bobby said, his voice kind and gentle. "But that is a normal feeling. We all feel afraid sometimes. The question is, what will you do with that fear?" Arya looked up at Bobby, her eyes shining with uncertainty. "I don't know," she admitted. "I just feel so lost and alone." Bobby nodded, his mane bristling with understanding. "Then let me tell you a secret, Arya," he said. "The only way to overcome fear is to face it head-on. You must be brave just like I was brave when I faced Scar. You must stand tall and proud, and you must trust in yourself and in the world around you." Arya listened, entranced by Bobby's words. She knew that he spoke the truth, that bravery was the key to overcoming fear. And so, with a newfound sense of courage and determination, she stood up and walked out into the savannah, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Bobby watched her go, a knowing glint in his eye. He knew that she would be okay, that she would find her way in the world. And he knew that he would be there to help her, to guide her and to support her every step of the way. As the sun set over the savannah, casting a golden glow over the grasslands, Bobby settled down to rest. He was tired but content, knowing that he had made a difference in the world. He knew that he was a brave and noble lion, a true hero of the savannah. And as he drifted off to sleep, he smiled, knowing that he would always be remembered as a symbol of courage and bravery, a shining example to all the animals of the savannah. Epilogue. Years went by and Bobby grew old and wise. He spent his days mentoring young lions and guiding the rest of the savannah's animals with his wise counsel. His fame spread far and wide, and animals from all corners of Africa came to seek his advice and to learn from his experiences. One day, a young lion asked Bobby to tell him his greatest adventure. Bobby settled back into his favorite spot, beneath a shady acacia tree, and began to recount the tale of Scar, the fierce and powerful hyena. But as he spoke, Bobby realized that the greatest adventure of all was not the one he had told the young lion. The greatest adventure was not the battle with Scar or the bravery he had displayed. It was the journey of self-discovery, the discovery of his own strengths and weaknesses. It was the journey of becoming a wise and noble lion, a true king of the savannah. It was the journey of becoming Bobby, the brave and courageous lion who stood tall and proud, his mane shining like a halo in the sunlight. And as the sun set over the savannah, casting a golden glow over the grasslands, Bobby smiled, knowing that his greatest adventure was not the one he had told the young lion. It was the one he had lived, the one he had experienced with every fiber of his being. The story of Bobby the brave lion is one that will be told for generations to come. It is a story of courage and bravery, of strength and resilience. It is a reminder that with determination and courage, we can overcome any obstacle and achieve greatness. Bobby may be an old lion now, but his story will live on, inspiring generations of animals to come. And even though he may have grown old and wise, his legacy will continue to shine bright, a beacon of hope and a reminder of the power of bravery and courage. One breezy afternoon in the savannah, Bobby the brave lion, his golden mane flowing and emerald green cape fluttering behind him, was examining an old, mysterious map he had found near the riverbank. Ziggy the zebra, her black and white stripes gleaming under the sun, trotted over with a curious look on her face. "What's that, Bobby?" Ziggy asked, peering over his shoulder. "It's a map to the sunken valley," Bobby said, his emerald green eyes sparkling with excitement. "Legend says it's home to a lost treasure that can bring prosperity to the entire savannah." As they discussed the map, Luna the cheetah joined them. Her sleek golden fur was dotted with black spots, and her sharp eyes gleamed with curiosity. "If you're going on an adventure, count me in," she said eagerly. The trio followed the map, which led them to the entrance of the sunken valley. The area was filled with dense vegetation, cascading waterfalls, and strange ruins hidden among the trees. "This place feels ancient," Luna remarked, her keen senses on high alert. As they ventured deeper, they discovered an enormous stone door, carved with intricate patterns of lions, zebras, and cheetahs working together. A riddle was inscribed above it. "To unlock the door, show unity of heart, for divided, you'll fail. Together, you'll start." "We have to work together to open it," Bobby said, placing his paw on the door. Luna and Ziggy joined him, and as they pushed together, the door creaked open, revealing a path descending into the valley. Inside, the valley was breathtaking. Sunlight filtered through cracks in the rocky ceiling, illuminating sparkling pools and ancient statues. In the center stood a pedestal with a golden chest. "This must be it," Ziggy exclaimed, her stripes quivering with excitement. Before they could approach, the ground shook, and a giant stone guardian shaped like a lion emerged. Its voice boomed, "Only those who prove their worth may claim the treasure." The guardian presented them with 3 challenges. Wisdom. The trio had to solve a puzzle by placing glowing stones in the correct order to recreate a sunrise. Agility. They had to leap across a series of moving platforms above a glowing pool. Luna's speed and precision led the way, while Bobby and Ziggy followed carefully. Bravery. Bobby had to confront his fear of the unknown by walking through a dark tunnel alone to retrieve the final key. With each challenge completed, the guardian nodded approvingly. "You have proven your wisdom, agility, and bravery," it said, stepping aside to reveal the chest. Inside, they found a treasure unlike any other, a radiant golden orb that pulsed with warmth. "This is the heart of the savannah," Bobby said. "It's a symbol of unity and strength for all who live here." The trio returned home, the golden orb glowing brightly in Bobby's paws. The savannah animals gathered to celebrate, knowing their land would thrive under its protective light. The day began with a cool breeze rolling over the savannah, carrying with it a sense of mystery. Bobby the brave lion, his golden mane glistening under the morning sun, was sharpening his claws on a rock near his den. Ziggy the zebra approached, her black and white stripes gleaming as she carried a rolled-up map in her mouth. "Bobby," Ziggy called, dropping the map at his feet. "Look what I found." "What's this?" Bobby asked, unrolling the map with his large paws. The paper was old and frayed, with an illustration of a towering mountain reaching into the clouds. At the peak, a glowing golden crown sparkled faintly. "This is the sky climb," Ziggy explained, her eyes wide with excitement. "They say the crown at the top can only be claimed by the bravest." "And that's you." Bobby grinned, his sharp teeth flashing. "Then we must climb it. Are you ready for an adventure, Ziggy?" The 2 friends set off, crossing the vast savannah until the ground beneath their paws and hooves turned rocky. Before them loomed the sky climb, a massive mountain with its peak obscured by thick clouds. As they approached, they met Hoot the owl, who was perched on a low branch of a nearby tree. "Hoo-hoo," Hoot said, flapping his wings. "The climb is not for the faint of heart. Beware the winds and the trials of the mountain." "We'll make it," Bobby said confidently, his emerald green cape billowing in the breeze. "Thank you for the warning, Hoot." The climb began. Bobby and Ziggy carefully navigated narrow ledges, their breaths visible in the colder air. Midway up, a sudden gust of wind nearly swept Ziggy off the path. Bobby grabbed her just in time, using his powerful paws to anchor her. "Thank you, Bobby," Ziggy said, her voice shaking. Stick close, Bobby replied. We're almost there. As they climbed higher, they encountered an enormous eagle, perched on a rocky outcrop. Its feathers shimmered in the sunlight, and its sharp eyes studied them. To pass, the eagle said, its voice deep and commanding. You must answer my question. What does a leader need most to guide others? Bobby thought for a moment, his emerald eyes glinting. A leader needs courage to face fears, wisdom to make the right choices, and kindness to care for their followers. The eagle tilted its head, then spread its massive wings. Well said, lion. You may pass. Finally, after hours of climbing, Bobby and Ziggy reached the peak. The clouds parted, revealing the golden crown resting on a pedestal of stone. It shimmered with a light that seemed to come from within. Bobby carefully placed the crown on his head. This isn't just a prize, he said, looking at Ziggy. It's a reminder that true bravery comes from protecting those we care about. The two friends stood on the peak, gazing out at the vast savanna below. The setting sun painted the landscape in hues of orange and pink, a perfect end to their daring adventure. It was another beautiful day in the savanna. The golden sun rose high, bathing the grasslands in a warm glow. Bobby the brave lion stood atop a small hill, his golden mane shimmering like fire under the sun. His emerald green cape fluttered behind him as he scanned the horizon for adventure. Beside him, Ziggy the zebra grazed on fresh grass, her black and white stripes glistening in the morning light. Bobby, Ziggy said, lifting her head. Have you ever heard of the enchanted caves? Bobby turned, his emerald eyes sparkling with interest. The enchanted caves? What about them? They say deep within those caves lies the Heartstone, Ziggy explained, her voice hushed with awe. It's a magical gem said to grant wisdom and strength to whoever proves themselves worthy. Bobby smiled, his sharp teeth glinting in the sunlight. Then we must find it. A lion's bravery and a zebra's cleverness. How can we fail? The two friends began their journey across the savanna. They passed through fields of golden grass, across bubbling streams, and over rocky trails. Along the way, they encountered their friend Ellie the elephant, who waved her trunk at them. Where are you off to so early? Ellie asked. To the enchanted caves. Ziggy replied cheerfully. Ellie chuckled. Be careful. The caves are full of tricks and riddles. Thanks for the warning, Ellie, Bobby said with a confident grin. We'll need all the wits we can muster. By mid-afternoon, Bobby and Ziggy reached the base of a rocky hillside. The entrance to the enchanted caves loomed ahead, dark and mysterious. Cool air wafted out, carrying the scent of moss and earth. Bobby stepped forward, his lion instincts alert, while Ziggy stayed close behind. Inside, the cave walls sparkled with crystals of every color imaginable. The light from their glowing surfaces cast dazzling rainbows across the floor. As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon an ancient inscription carved into the stone floor. Only the brave and clever may proceed, Bobby read aloud. Light the path to reveal the way. Ziggy tilted her head, examining the walls. Look, Bobby, there are sconces along the walls. Maybe we need to light them? Bobby picked up a shard of reflective crystal from the ground. The sunlight streaming through a small crack in the ceiling caught his eye. Let's use this to direct the light, he said. Carefully, he angled the shard, bouncing sunlight from one sconce to another. As the sconces lit up, they revealed a hidden passage, glowing faintly. The passage led them to a vast chamber, where a giant stone guardian shaped like a bear stood motionless in the center. Its glowing blue eyes snapped open, and its deep voice rumbled through the cavern. Who dares seek the Heartstone? Bobby stepped forward, his mane gleaming in the crystal light. I am Bobby the brave lion, and this is my friend Ziggy the zebra. We seek the Heartstone to bring wisdom to our savanna. The bear's glowing eyes locked on Bobby. Only those who answer my riddle may proceed, it said. What cannot be seen but holds everything together? Bobby furrowed his brow, deep in thought. Ziggy whispered, it could be trust, or maybe love? A confident smile spread across Bobby's face. It's love, he said firmly. Love holds everything together. The stone guardian nodded, stepping aside. You are wise and brave. The heartstone is yours. Behind the guardian, a pedestal rose from the ground, holding the heartstone. The gem pulsed with a golden light that warmed the room. Bobby picked it up carefully, feeling its energy surge through him. As they left the chamber, the cave walls glowed brighter, as if bidding them farewell. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the savannah in shades of gold and orange. That was incredible, Ziggy exclaimed, hopping in excitement. Bobby held up the heartstone, his emerald cape catching the light. This is just the beginning, Ziggy. With this, we can guide our friends with courage and wisdom. The two friends began their journey back home, ready to share the tale of their adventure. On a bright and sunny morning, Bobby the brave lion, with his golden mane glowing in the sunlight, decided to climb the tallest hill in the savannah. His emerald green cape flowed behind him as he roared with excitement. Adventure awaits, he said, bounding up the hill. His friend, Ziggy the zebra, trotted alongside him, her black and white stripes shining under the sun. She carried a satchel filled with snacks for their journey. Do you think the stories about the sky mirror are true, Bobby? Ziggy asked, her voice full of curiosity. At the top of the hill, they found the legendary sky mirror, a smooth, crystal-clear lake that reflected the sky so perfectly it looked like a portal to another world. As Bobby approached, the lake shimmered, and a voice echoed, "Only the brave may enter and retrieve the star gem." Bobby puffed out his chest. "That's me, Bobby the brave." Without hesitation, he stepped into the lake, disappearing beneath its shimmering surface. Inside, Bobby found himself in a magical world of floating clouds and shining stars. A giant, glowing bird with sparkling feathers flew toward him. "To claim the star gem," the bird said, "you must solve this riddle. What shines brightest in the darkest of times?" Bobby thought for a moment, then smiled. "Hope. Hope shines brightest when it's dark." The bird nodded and presented Bobby with a glowing star gem. As Bobby returned to the surface, the sky mirror sparkled brightly, and Ziggy cheered. "You did it, Bobby," she said. Bobby held up the star gem, proud of his courage and quick thinking. They returned to the savannah, where the star gem now glowed brightly in the sky, reminding everyone of Bobby's bravery and the power of hope.
One cool evening, as the sun began to set over the savannah, Bobby, the lion cub, and his best friend, Lila, the clever gazelle, set out on a new adventure. They had heard whispers of a hidden oasis that only appeared under the light of the full moon. "Let's find it," Bobby, the lion cub, said eagerly. "A secret oasis just waiting to be discovered? That sounds like the perfect adventure." The two friends followed a winding path that led through a dense jungle, with the sounds of the night creatures filling the air. As the moon began to rise, a soft glow appeared in the distance. "Look," Lila said, pointing towards the horizon. "I think that's the oasis." But the journey wasn't as easy as they thought. The closer they got, the more difficult the path became. Thorns blocked their way, and a river had to be crossed, with only a few stepping stones to help them across. Bobby, the lion cub, took the lead, carefully leaping across the stones and guiding Lila along with him. Finally, after what felt like hours, they arrived at the moonlit oasis. The water shimmered in the moonlight, and flowers of all colors bloomed around the edge of the sparkling pool. It was more beautiful than they had ever imagined. "This is incredible," Bobby, the lion cub, exclaimed. The oasis wasn't just a place, it was magical, filled with peace and tranquility. As the moonlight bathed the oasis in soft light, Bobby realized that the journey to find it was just as important as discovering it. "Sometimes, the most beautiful things are hidden," Bobby said with a smile. One bright and sunny day, Bobby, the lion cub, and his adventurous friend Oliver, the wise old turtle, decided to climb the legendary Mountain of Echoes. It was said that the mountain could repeat anything you said, but only those with a true heart could hear the secrets hidden within its echoes. "Do you think we'll hear something special?" Bobby asked, his voice filled with excitement. Oliver, the turtle, slowly nodded. Only if we truly listen. The mountain speaks to those who listen with their hearts. As they began the ascent, the path grew steeper, and the trees around them became thinner. "We're almost there," said Bobby, the lion cub, panting slightly. The mountain's peak was just ahead, covered in mist. Once they reached the top, Bobby, the lion cub, shouted, "Hello." His voice echoed back, but it sounded different, like a whisper. "Hello, Bobby." True heart. "Listen." The voice seemed to encourage Bobby to speak his feelings. Bobby, the lion cub, closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "I feel brave, and I'm not afraid of anything. I just want to be a good friend to others," he said softly. To Bobby's surprise, the echo returned in a warm, deep voice. "Brave and true, the heart will guide you." Bobby smiled brightly. He knew that the mountain of echoes had shared its secret with him. With Oliver, the turtle, by his side, Bobby, the lion cub, climbed down the mountain feeling more confident, knowing that bravery and kindness would always lead him in the right direction. One early morning, Bobby, the lion cub, and his clever friend Zara, the wise giraffe, set out to explore the Lost Valley, a mysterious place surrounded by thick fog. "No one has ever ventured deep into the valley," Zara said, her long neck stretching as she peered into the mist. "But today, we will solve its mystery." Bobby, the lion cub, felt a shiver of excitement run down his spine. The fog was thick, and it seemed to swallow everything around them. But Bobby, the lion cub, stayed brave. "I'm ready. Let's see what secrets the valley holds." As they journeyed through the fog, they came across strange, glowing footprints leading through the valley. "These footprints weren't here yesterday," Zara said, crouching down to examine them. Bobby, the lion cub, sniffed the air and noticed a faint scent of flowers. "Let's follow these footprints. They might lead us to something important." The footprints led them to a beautiful hidden garden where the fog began to thin. In the center of the garden stood an ancient stone with glowing markings. "This must be the heart of the Lost Valley," Bobby said, his eyes wide with awe. Suddenly, the fog lifted entirely, revealing a wide meadow full of vibrant flowers. Bobby, the lion cub, and Zara looked at each other and smiled. "We've unlocked the valley's secret," Bobby exclaimed. They spent the day exploring the now clear valley, finding hidden gems and admiring the beauty that had been hidden under the mysterious fog for so long. It was a warm afternoon when Bobby, the lion cub, and his friend Rio, the speedy cheetah, decided to explore a new part of the savannah. As they wandered deeper, they heard the roar of rushing water. "It's the Great Rapids," Rio said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Bobby, the lion cub, looked across the river and spotted a shiny object stuck in some rocks. "What's that?" he wondered. Rio squinted and said, "It looks like an ancient pendant. Let's race to see who can get it first." The friends agreed to a friendly competition. Bobby, the lion cub, used his strength to leap over large rocks while Rio darted quickly along narrow paths. The roaring rapids splashed around them, creating an exciting challenge. Midway, Bobby noticed Rio struggling to cross a slippery rock. "Careful," Bobby called out. Rio slipped but managed to grab onto a vine hanging over the water. Bobby, the lion cub, quickly jumped to help Rio steady himself. Grateful, Rio said, "Thanks, Bobby. Let's finish this together." The two friends worked as a team to retrieve the pendant safely. Once they had it, they admired its intricate carvings. This adventure wasn't just about speed, it was about looking out for each other, Bobby said with a smile. One sunny morning, Bobby, the lion cub, and his friend Ellie, the curious elephant, stumbled upon an old, mossy stone with strange carvings near a large tree. "What's this?" Ellie asked, her trunk brushing off the moss. Bobby, the lion cub, studied the carvings. "It looks like a map, but it's missing pieces," he said. They found a riddle at the bottom, solved the puzzles of the savannah to reveal the path to the hidden lake. Excited, they decided to take on the challenge. Their first puzzle led them to a field of sunflowers. A group of meerkats, led by Timmy, were arranging the flowers into patterns. Bobby, the lion cub, asked, "Can we help? We need to solve a puzzle." Timmy agreed, and together they aligned the sunflowers to form the symbol from the map. The next clue took them to a rocky cliff. There, they had to align shadows cast by the rocks into the shape of a lion's face. Ellie used her trunk to move smaller stones while Bobby adjusted his angle to align the shadows perfectly. Finally, the path led to a dense forest. Following the completed map, they uncovered the hidden lake sparkling in the sunlight. "It's beautiful," Ellie exclaimed. They celebrated with a splash in the cool water, knowing their teamwork had made it all possible. One bright morning, Bobby, the lion cub, was exploring the savannah with his best friend, Lila, the adventurous meerkat. While digging near an old tree, Lila found a rolled-up piece of paper. "Bobby, look, it's a map," she exclaimed. The map showed a path leading to an X marked deep in the jungle. "This looks like a treasure map," Bobby said, his eyes lighting up. Without hesitation, the two friends decided to follow it. As they ventured through the savannah, the map led them to a rickety wooden bridge over a river. Bobby, the lion cub, crossed carefully, encouraging Lila to follow. On the other side, they found another clue, a carving on a rock pointing toward a tall tree in the distance. When they reached the tree, they noticed a hollow at the base. Inside, they found a small chest. But as they were about to open it, they heard rustling in the bushes. Out jumped Max, the mischievous jackal. "That's my treasure," Max barked. Bobby, the lion cub, stayed calm and said, "Let's share it." "We all worked hard to find it." Max hesitated but eventually agreed. Inside the chest, they found shiny beads and golden trinkets. The three friends laughed and celebrated their teamwork, promising to always share their discoveries. One quiet evening, Bobby, the lion cub, was gazing at the stars with Mia, the wise owl. Mia pointed out a cluster of stars shaped like a lion. "That's the brave lion constellation," she explained. "Legend says it leads to a magical starstone." Bobby's curiosity was piqued. "Let's find it," he declared. Mia flapped her wings and said, "Follow me, but we must hurry. The starstone is only visible under tonight's constellation." The two friends ventured into the dark savannah, guided by the glowing stars. They passed through a dense forest and crossed a sparkling stream. Along the way, they heard rustling in the bushes. Out came Coco, the playful monkey. "Where are you going?" Coco asked. "We're on a star hunt," Bobby replied. Coco eagerly joined the adventure. Finally, they reached a hilltop. At its peak, the moonlight revealed the magical star stone glowing faintly. Bobby, the lion cub, picked it up carefully, feeling its warmth. Suddenly, the ground trembled slightly. "The hill's unstable," Mia warned. Bobby, the lion cub, stayed calm and led his friends down the hill slowly and safely. When they returned to the village, everyone admired the beautiful star stone. Bobby, the lion cub, smiled and said, "This adventure reminded me that bravery shines brightest when shared with friends." One afternoon, the skies over the savannah darkened, and a fierce thunderstorm rolled in. Bobby, the lion cub, was out playing with his friends Nala, the zebra, and Finn, the playful squirrel. "We need to find shelter quickly," Bobby said as the first drops of rain started to fall. The group ran toward a nearby cluster of trees, but the storm grew stronger, and the wind howled through the branches. "This isn't safe enough," Nala exclaimed. Bobby, the lion cub, spotted a rocky outcrop in the distance and said, "Let's head there. It might be a better shelter." As they reached the outcrop, they discovered a small cave. Inside, the friends huddled together to wait out the storm. But as the rain poured down, they noticed water trickling into the cave. "We need to block that water, or it'll flood in here," Finn said. Thinking fast, Bobby found some large leaves and sticks outside the cave to build a barrier at the entrance. With teamwork, they managed to stop the water from flowing in. They stayed dry and safe until the storm passed. When the sun finally came out, Bobby, the lion cub, stepped outside and smiled. "We did it, team. We stayed calm and worked together to solve the problem." The friends celebrated with laughter and promised to always stick together in challenging times. One cloudy afternoon, Bobby, the lion cub, was playing hide-and-seek with his friends. While searching for Kip, the clever meerkat, Bobby noticed a strange opening in the side of a rocky hill. Curious, Bobby peeked inside and found a dark, hidden cave. "Kip, are you in there?" Bobby called, his voice echoing in the darkness. Suddenly, Kip popped out from behind a bush and said, "Not in there, but let's explore it together." Excited but cautious, Bobby and Kip ventured inside the cave. The narrow passage opened into a large chamber filled with sparkling crystals and ancient carvings on the walls. "Wow! Look at this place!" Kip exclaimed. But the adventure wasn't over yet. A rumbling sound echoed through the cave. "What was that?" Kip whispered nervously. Bobby, the lion cub, stayed calm and said, "Don't worry, Kip. Let's follow the sound. It might lead us to something important." Deeper in the cave, they found a stream of water trickling through the rocks. It led to a hidden pool filled with glowing stones. "This is amazing," Kip said. They carefully collected a few small glowing stones to show their friends and then made their way back to the surface. Outside, their friends were amazed by their discovery. Bobby, the lion cub, felt proud of his bravery and curiosity, knowing he'd turned a hidden cave into an unforgettable adventure. On a hot and sunny day, Bobby, the lion cub, was walking with Tycho, the curious otter, along the riverbank. They came across a beautiful but powerful waterfall. "Wow, look at that!" Tycho exclaimed. But then he noticed something unusual, a strange set of markings on the rocks near the water. "What do you think it means?" Tycho asked. Bobby, the lion cub, looked closely at the markings. "It looks like a puzzle. Maybe it's a way to find something hidden," Bobby replied. The two friends started investigating. Bobby spotted symbols that seemed to point to a series of stepping stones across the river. Carefully, Bobby hopped from stone to stone, following the pattern in the markings. Tycho, being an otter, swam alongside to help. When they reached the other side, they found a hidden alcove behind the waterfall. Inside was an old wooden chest. Tycho's paws trembled with excitement as they opened it together. Inside, they found colorful gems and a shiny pendant. "Wow! This must have belonged to someone very important," Tycho said. Bobby, the lion cub, nodded. "We should share this with everyone. It's part of the savannah's history." Back in the village, their friends gathered around to see the treasure. Bobby felt proud of their teamwork and reminded everyone that curiosity and courage often lead to amazing discoveries. One breezy morning, Bobby, the lion cub, was out exploring the savannah when he spotted his friend Pip, the mischievous monkey, stuck on the edge of a high cliff. The strong winds were making it hard for Pip to climb back up, and he clung tightly to a narrow tree branch. "Help, Bobby!" Pip shouted, his tail swinging wildly in the wind. Bobby, the lion cub, rushed to the scene and realized this would be a tough challenge. The rocky cliff was steep, and the gusty winds made it dangerous to get too close. Bobby tried shouting to Pip, "Hold on, Pip. I'll find a way to help." First, Bobby grabbed a long vine from a nearby tree and tested its strength. Then he found a large rock to anchor the vine. With the vine secured, Bobby, the lion cub, carefully lowered it down to Pip. But as Pip tried to climb, the branch he was clinging to started to crack. Thinking fast, Bobby used his strong lion paws to brace the vine against the rock, giving Pip the extra stability he needed to climb up safely. Once Pip reached the top, he hugged Bobby tightly. "Thanks, Bobby. I knew I could count on you." Bobby smiled, relieved that he had found a way to help his friend. He realized that staying calm and thinking quickly in tough situations was just as important as being brave. One sunny afternoon, Bobby, the lion cub, was walking through the savannah when he heard his friend Miko, the monkey, chattering angrily. "Someone's taken all my bananas," Miko cried, pointing to his empty tree stash. Bobby, the lion cub, decided to help Miko solve the mystery. This was going to be a tricky challenge. How could they find the culprit in such a big savannah? Bobby sniffed around the tree and noticed some banana peels leading toward the tall grass. "Let's follow the trail," Bobby said. Together, Bobby and Miko tracked the peels until they reached the watering hole. There, they found Zara, the mischievous parrot, happily munching on bananas. "Zara!" Miko exclaimed. Zara flapped her wings nervously. I'm sorry, Miko. I didn't mean to take all of them. I was just so hungry, and your bananas looked so delicious. Bobby, the lion cub, stepped forward and said, It's okay, Zara. Next time, just ask. Friends are always willing to share if you're honest. Miko nodded, agreeing to share the bananas as long as Zara promised to ask next time. The three friends laughed together, and Bobby felt proud that he'd turned a tricky mystery into a lesson about sharing and honesty. One afternoon, Bobby, the lion cub, was walking through the savannah when he heard a loud cry. Following the sound, he found his friend, Lulu the porcupine, stuck in a patch of thorny bushes. Lulu was scared and couldn't move without pricking herself with the sharp thorns. Bobby, help me. I can't get out, she cried. Bobby, the lion cub, knew this was a tricky challenge. If he rushed in too quickly, he might get pricked by the thorns or hurt Lulu even more. First, Bobby tried using his paw to gently push the branches aside, but the thorns were too sharp and tangled. Then he tried using a nearby stick, but it wasn't strong enough to clear the way. Bobby sat down to think, determined to solve the problem. Suddenly, Bobby had an idea. He spotted a pile of big, broad leaves nearby. Carefully, he used the leaves to cover his paws, creating a barrier from the thorns. Step by step, Bobby, the lion cub, used his protected paws to clear the bushes around Lulu. Finally, Lulu was free. She looked at Bobby with gratitude. Thank you, Bobby. You didn't give up, even when it was hard, she said. Bobby smiled, feeling proud of his clever solution. He learned that challenges are easier to face when you take time to think and plan. One bright morning, Bobby, the lion cub, was walking through the savannah when he came across his friend Tessa, a stubborn old turtle. She was trying to cross a small river, but the current was too strong, and Tessa was stuck on a rock in the middle of the stream. Bobby, the lion cub, rushed over to help. Don't worry, Tessa. I'll help you get across, Bobby said. But Tessa stubbornly refused, shaking her head. I can do it myself, Bobby, she said with a grunt. Bobby, the lion cub, had a challenge on his paws. He didn't want to push Tessa into doing something she didn't want to do, but the current was growing stronger by the minute. He had to figure out a way to help without forcing Tessa. First, Bobby suggested they find a better spot to cross. But Tessa was too proud to listen. Next, Bobby offered to carry her on his back, but Tessa still wouldn't agree. She insisted that she could do it on her own. Finally, Bobby, the lion cub, had an idea. He searched around the riverbank and found a strong vine. Carefully, he tied the vine to a sturdy tree branch, then tossed it over to Tessa. Use this to steady yourself, Bobby said. Tessa hesitated at first, but finally agreed. Using the vine, she was able to cross the river safely. She smiled at Bobby and said, I may be stubborn, but you were right, Bobby. Sometimes it's okay to ask for help. Bobby, the lion cub, felt proud, not because he had forced Tessa to listen, but because he had helped her find a way without breaking her pride. One sunny afternoon, Bobby, the lion cub, was exploring the savannah when he heard a distant sound, the soft rumble of water crashing over rocks. Curious, he followed the sound until he came upon a lush, green jungle. Deep within the jungle, hidden by thick vines and trees, he discovered a magnificent waterfall. The waterfall was shimmering in the sunlight, with water cascading down the rocks in a beautiful, sparkling mist. Bobby, the lion cub, stood in awe, amazed by the hidden beauty of the jungle. He stepped closer, letting the cool mist hit his face. As Bobby sat beside the water, an old turtle named Tessa appeared, slowly making her way toward him. This waterfall has been here for centuries, Tessa said with a wise smile. But it's hidden for those who seek adventure and wonder. Bobby, the lion cub, smiled, feeling proud of his discovery. He had followed his curiosity and found something beautiful that many animals had never seen. Bobby realized that sometimes the most amazing things were hidden, waiting for those who dared to seek them out. Bobby, the brave lion cub, was wandering through the savannah, feeling a bit lost. He had been practicing to be the strongest and bravest, but sometimes Bobby felt small compared to the mighty animals around him. That day, he met an elderly, wise elephant named Alara. Bobby asked Alara, "How did you become so wise and strong?" Alara smiled gently and replied, "True strength comes not only from power, but from learning and patience." Bobby, the lion cub, sat beside Alara under a tall acacia tree as she told him stories of her travels and the animals she had met. She spoke of listening, of kindness, and how wisdom grows when you take the time to understand others. Bobby, the lion cub, began to realize that strength wasn't only about being the fastest or the biggest. It was also about learning, understanding, and knowing when to act with patience. Bobby thanked Alara and walked back to his pride with a new sense of understanding. He knew that true strength was not just about being powerful, it was about being wise, kind, and patient. On the far edge of the savannah, where the grasslands meet rugged hills, there was a mysterious cave. The elder lions called it the Echoing Cave, a place where strange sounds scared even the bravest animals. Bobby had heard stories about it, but curiosity always sparked in his eyes when the cave was mentioned. What could be inside, he wondered. One day, as the pride napped under a giant baobab tree, Bobby decided to find out. The journey to the cave wasn't easy. Rocky paths and thorny bushes challenged Bobby's courage. As he reached the cave entrance, he hesitated. The mouth of the cave loomed before him, dark and foreboding. A sudden growl echoed from inside, freezing Bobby in his tracks. His paws trembled. "Is this really a good idea?" he thought. But Bobby remembered the cheetah he'd scared off. If he could face that, he could face anything. He stepped into the cave. The air was cool, and the faint sound of dripping water echoed around him. Suddenly, a shadow darted across the wall. Bobby's heart pounded. Then, the growl came again, but this time, Bobby noticed it was his own voice, bouncing off the walls. Realizing the echoes were his own sounds, Bobby chuckled nervously. As he explored deeper, he found something amazing, glowing crystals that lit the cave in shades of blue and green. They shimmered like stars, reflecting on the walls. Bobby roared, and the crystals seemed to vibrate with the sound, creating a symphony of echoes. It was beautiful, not scary. Feeling proud and a little braver, Bobby returned to the pride with his discovery. The elder lions were shocked when he told them what he found. The Echoing Cave wasn't haunted after all, Bobby said proudly. It was just another step in Bobby's journey to becoming the bravest lion in the savannah. In the heart of the savannah, where golden grass sways under a blazing sun, lived Bobby, a young lion with a soft heart. Though small for his age, Bobby had one big dream, to be the bravest lion of the pride. But there was one problem. Bobby had never roared. Not even once. Every time he opened his mouth to try, only a tiny squeak would escape. One day, as the pride lounged near a watering hole, a commotion arose. A group of frightened zebras galloped past, shouting, "Help! A sneaky cheetah is hunting near our calves." Bobby's heart pounded. The elder lions stayed back, dismissing the cries, saying, "Cheetahs are too fast for us." But Bobby couldn't ignore it. What if I could help? He thought. So, with trembling paws, Bobby followed the zebra's trail. The dry grass crackled beneath him, and his small shadow danced under the glaring sun. The closer he got, the louder his doubts became. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? Finally, Bobby spotted the cheetah, inching closer to the young zebras. Their mothers were desperately trying to shield them. Bobby's heart raced. He knew he had to act. Taking a deep breath, Bobby summoned all the courage he could muster. He let out a roar so loud, it echoed across the plains. To his surprise, it was no squeak this time, but a booming sound that startled even him. The cheetah froze, looked around, and darted off, vanishing into the horizon. The zebras cheered, and Bobby stood tall, his chest puffed with pride. That day, Bobby learned that bravery isn't about being fearless, it's about facing fears head-on. The pride welcomed him back as a hero, and for the first time, Bobby felt truly brave. And so began the adventures of Bobby the Brave Lion.
Bubby the lion cub was full of energy and loved adventures. Every morning, he would run through the jungle, leaping over logs and chasing butterflies. He loved to roar and call himself Bubby the Brave. One morning, as the sun rose high, Bubby spotted a tall hill far in the distance. Its peak glowed in the sunlight, and it looked like a perfect challenge for the brave little lion. "I'm going to climb that hill today," Bubby declared loudly. As he puffed out his chest, he heard a calm voice behind him. It was Juna, the wise jaguar, who had been napping on a tree branch nearby. "Climbing that hill, are you?" she asked, stretching gracefully. "Yes. I'll be the first lion to reach the top. Nothing can stop me," Bubby said proudly. Juna tilted her head thoughtfully. "It's good to be brave, Bubby. But that hill isn't as simple as it looks. The paths are steep, and there are hidden dangers. You'll need to be careful and plan ahead." "Careful?" Bubby scoffed. "I'm brave, Juna. I don't need a plan." And off he went, running toward the hill without another word. As Bubby reached the base of the hill, he looked up. It seemed taller than he thought, but that didn't bother him. "I can do this," he said, starting his climb. The path started smooth, and Bubby hopped from one rock to another with ease. "See? This is a piece of cake," he said, grinning to himself. But soon, the path became steeper and narrower. The rocks were loose, and the ground was uneven. Just a little tougher, but I'm still Bubby the Brave," he muttered, pushing forward. Suddenly, his paw landed on a slippery stone. Before he knew it, he was sliding down the slope. "Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!" he yelled as he tumbled into a patch of thorny bushes. "Ouch! That hurt!" Bubby cried, trying to free himself from the prickly branches. As he struggled, he heard soft footsteps behind him. It was Juna. She had followed him quietly from the start, just in case he needed help. "Are you all right, Bubby?" Juna asked, her voice calm and caring. Bubby looked down, embarrassed. "I guess I wasn't as brave as I thought," he admitted. Juna smiled gently. "Being brave doesn't mean ignoring dangers, little one. Sometimes, it means knowing when to ask for help." Bubby hesitated, then looked up at Juna. "Will you help me? I still want to reach the top, but I don't know how to do it safely." Juna nodded. "Of course. Let's climb together. But this time, we'll do it the smart way." With Juna leading the way, Bubby learned how to climb safely. She showed him how to test each rock before stepping on it and how to spot stable paths. "See that loose stone over there?" Juna said, pointing with her paw. "Avoid it. It's wobbly and could make you slip again." Bubby carefully stepped around it, feeling more confident. "Thanks, Juna. I didn't even notice that before." They stopped to rest under the shade of a tree halfway up the hill. "It's okay to take breaks, Bubby," Juna said. "Even the bravest animals need to catch their breath." Bubby nodded, feeling calmer now. "I think I like this careful climbing," he said with a small smile. Finally, after much climbing and careful steps, they reached the top of the hill. Bubby gasped as he looked around. The view was breathtaking. The jungle stretched out below them, filled with colorful trees, sparkling rivers, and animals playing in the distance. "Wow!" Bubby said softly. "This is amazing. I wouldn't have made it here without you, Juna." "Thank you." Juna smiled. "You made it here because you were brave enough to learn. That's what real bravery is, being smart, staying safe, and knowing when to ask for help." Bubby thought about her words and nodded. "I guess bravery isn't just about charging ahead, huh?" "That's right," Juna said. "It's about thinking before you leap." As the sun set, the two friends made their way back down the hill, this time taking the safe path together.
Once upon a time, in a vibrant, sunny jungle, there lived a lion named Bobby. Bobby was no ordinary lion. While he had a mighty roar and a shiny golden mane that shimmered under the sun, what made Bobby truly special was his kind heart. He might have been the king of the jungle, but he was always gentle and thoughtful toward every creature, no matter how big or small. Bobby's friends loved him because he wasn't just strong, He was also wise and always ready to lend a helping paw. And though he was the biggest animal in the jungle, Bobby knew that sometimes the smallest creatures could teach him the most important lessons. One bright morning, as Bobby was strolling through the jungle, enjoying the warmth of the sun, he heard a faint sound. It was the soft patter of tiny feet. "Who's there?" Bobby called, his deep voice echoing through the trees. Out from behind a large bush hopped a small rabbit named Rosie. She was a little out of breath, and her long ears were drooping with worry. "Hello, Rosie." "Why do you look so sad?" Bobby asked, bending down to her level, his golden eyes filled with concern. Rosie sighed deeply, her nose twitching nervously. "Oh, Bobby, I'm so scared. I was hopping through the jungle just like always, but now I've lost my way." "Oh no," Bobby said, his voice full of sympathy. "Where were you going?" Rosie pointed her tiny paw toward the dense jungle ahead. "I was heading home, but now I don't recognize anything around here. I'm afraid I'll never find my way back." Bobby, being the strong and confident lion that he was, stood tall and smiled reassuringly at Rosie. "Don't worry, Rosie. I'll help you get back to your home. I know this jungle like the back of my paw." Rosie's ears perked up a little, but she still seemed unsure. "But Bobby," she said, shaking her head, "you're so big and I'm just a small rabbit. Maybe I should try to find my way by myself. I don't want to be a bother." Bobby smiled warmly at Rosie. "Rosie, being big doesn't always mean I can do everything. Sometimes it's the little ones who have the best ideas. You see, it doesn't matter how big or small we are. What matters is having a kind heart and being willing to help one another." Rosie looked up at Bobby, her eyes shining a little brighter. "You really think you can help me?" "Of course, and together we can do anything." So with that, Bobby and Rosie set off on their adventure. Bobby walked through the jungle with his big, strong paws, and Rosie hopped along beside him, her ears twitching at every sound. As they walked, they passed familiar sights for Bobby: the sparkling river, the tall, leafy trees, and the colorful flowers. But Rosie seemed nervous as they kept walking deeper into the jungle. "I don't remember this part of the jungle," Rosie said, her voice trembling. "What if we get lost even more?" Bobby gently nudged her with his nose. "Don't worry, Rosie. We'll find the way. Let's take our time, listen to the sounds of the jungle, and think carefully. Sometimes we just need to be patient." Rosie felt a little better. She knew Bobby was wise and strong. As they continued, Bobby told her stories about the jungle, about how the animals worked together, and how everyone had something special to offer. Suddenly, they heard the sound of birds singing overhead. Rosie stopped and looked up at the trees. "Bobby, I remember these trees," she said, her eyes widening. "I think we're getting close to home." Bobby smiled and gave Rosie a high five with his big paw. "See, I told you. With a little patience and a lot of help from friends, we can always find the right way." Soon they came to a beautiful meadow filled with soft green grass, and in the distance, Rosie could see her cozy little burrow. She hopped up and down excitedly. "Bobby, we did it! We found my home!" Bobby's heart swelled with happiness as he watched Rosie leap toward her burrow. "I'm so glad, Rosie. But remember, you didn't do it alone. We worked together. That's the magic of friendship." Rosie turned to Bobby, her little nose twitching with a smile. "Thank you so much, Bobby. I was so scared at first, but with you by my side, I felt brave. You were right. Size doesn't matter. It's about having a kind heart and helping each other." Bobby chuckled softly, his golden mane glinting in the sunlight. "You're welcome, Rosie, and I'm proud of you for being brave too. You taught me that sometimes the smallest ones have the biggest hearts." As they said their goodbyes, Bobby felt a warm glow inside. He knew that no matter how big or small you were, as long as you had a caring heart and were willing to help, you could make a difference in the world.
In the heart of the vast jungle, where the trees stretched to the sky and rivers sparkled like liquid diamonds, lived two best friends, a little lion named Bubby and an orangutan named Ollie. Bubby was no ordinary lion cub. He was brave but thoughtful, with a soft golden coat and a tiny tuft of mane that was still growing. Ollie, on the other hand, was bursting with energy. His long orange arms were perfect for swinging from tree to tree, and his mischievous grin promised that trouble was never far behind. The two were an unlikely pair, but they balanced each other perfectly. Bubby kept Ollie from taking too many risks, and Ollie pulled Bubby out of his comfort zone. Every day brought new adventures, but none would be as exciting or as important as the one they were about to have. The whisper of a legend. One bright morning, Ollie was sitting on a low-hanging branch, munching on a banana. His ears perked up as he overheard two old parrots chatting nearby. "Do you think anyone will ever find the Forbidden Valley?" One parrot squawked. "Not likely," the other replied. "And even if they did, they'd have to face the challenges of the jungle first." "Forbidden Valley?" Ollie murmured to himself. His curiosity sparked like a firework. Leaping down from his perch, he rushed to find Bubby. Bubby was lounging near a shady tree, practicing his roars. "Roar!" he growled, but it came out more like a squeak. Ollie landed beside him with a thud. "Forget practicing your roars. I just heard something incredible." Bubby raised an eyebrow. "What now, Ollie?" "The Forbidden Valley," Ollie exclaimed. "They say there's a magical tree there that grows fruits that can grant wishes." Bubby blinked in surprise. "Wishes? Really? That sounds a little too good to be true." Ollie grinned. "Come on, Bubby. Don't you want to see for yourself? Imagine what we could wish for." Bubby hesitated. He knew the jungle could be dangerous, and the word forbidden wasn't exactly comforting. But the idea of a magical tree was too tempting to resist. "All right," Bubby said finally. "But we have to be careful." Ollie cheered. "Careful is my middle name." The journey begins. The two friends packed what they could. Ollie grabbed some bananas for snacks, while Bubby carried a small satchel of water in case they got thirsty. They set off into the jungle, following the faint directions Ollie had overheard. Their first challenge came quickly. A dense thicket of thorny vines. Bubby tried to push through, but his fur kept snagging on the thorns. "Hold on, Bubby," Ollie said, grabbing a sharp stone. With careful precision, Ollie cut a path through the vines. "Thanks, Ollie," Bubby said, brushing off his fur. "Teamwork, buddy," Ollie replied with a wink. Next, they reached the Wiggly Bridge, a long, narrow log stretched over a fast-moving river. Ollie scampered across with ease, swinging from nearby vines, when he felt the log wobble. Bubby, however, froze halfway. "It's too shaky," he cried, his paws trembling. "You can do it," Ollie called back. "Just focus on me." Summoning all his courage, Bubby inched forward, one paw at a time, until he finally reached the other side. "See," Ollie said, clapping Bubby on the back. "I told you you're braver than you think." Bubby smiled, starting to believe it himself. The shadowy swamp. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, the air grew thick and humid. They reached the shadowy swamp, a murky expanse filled with strange noises and bubbling mud. "I don't like this place," Bubby said, his nose wrinkling. "Don't worry," Ollie said, already hopping across on rocks and tree roots. "Just follow me." But as Bubby followed, his paw slipped into the mud. With a loud squelch, he began to sink. "Help!" Bubby yelped, struggling to free himself. Ollie swung back, grabbing a sturdy vine. "Hold on, Bubby," he shouted, tossing the vine toward his friend. Bubby gripped it tightly, and with Ollie pulling with all his might, Bubby managed to climb out. "Thanks, Ollie," Bubby panted. "Anytime," Ollie replied, though his arms were shaking from the effort. They pressed on, determined to find the Forbidden Valley. The Forbidden Valley revealed finally. After what felt like hours, the jungle opened up into a breathtaking clearing. The Forbidden Valley was more beautiful than they had imagined. The legendary fruit tree stood in the center, its branches heavy with golden, glowing fruits. "Wow!" Ollie whispered. "It's real." They approached the tree, but before they could touch it, a deep voice boomed. "Who dares enter the Forbidden Valley?" From the shadows stepped Luma, a wise old panther with silver eyes that seemed to see into their very souls. "This valley is protected," Luma said. "The magical tree grants wishes, but only to those with pure and selfless hearts." "What is it you seek?" Ali stepped forward, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "I wish for endless bananas, so I'll never go hungry again." The tree shimmered faintly, but nothing happened. Luma shook her head. "That wish is selfish, young orangutan. The tree only responds to those who think of others before themselves." Ali's shoulders slumped. "Oh!" Bubby stepped forward, his heart pounding. He thought of all the animals in the jungle who struggled during dry seasons, when food and water were scarce. "I wish for this jungle to always have enough food and water for all its creatures," Bubby said, his voice steady. The tree glowed brightly, and a single golden fruit fell into Bubby's paws. "Your wish is noble," Luma said, her eyes softening. "Plant this fruit near the river, and it will grow into a tree that provides for the entire jungle." Bubby and Ali thanked Luma and carefully carried the fruit back home. A jungle transformed when they reached the river. They planted the fruit in the soft earth. Within days, a magnificent tree sprouted. Its branches were heavy with fruits that never ran out, and its roots kept the river flowing clear and strong. The jungle flourished like never before. Animals who had once struggled now thrived, and Bubby and Ali became heroes among their friends. Ali learned that true happiness came from thinking of others, and Bubby discovered that bravery wasn't just about facing danger, it was about doing what was right. And so, the two friends continued their adventures, wiser and closer than ever, in a jungle that thrived thanks to their selfless wish.
In the heart of the jungle, where the trees were tall and the air smelled of wildflowers, lived a young lion cub named Bubby. Bubby was full of energy and loved to run, play, and explore. He had bright golden fur that shimmered under the sun and a big heart that was always eager for adventure. But there was one thing Bubby didn't like: losing. Bubby had many friends in the jungle, and they often played games together. Sometimes they would race through the jungle, jumping over logs and dodging trees. Bubby was fast, and he loved winning. But one day, a new challenge came that would test him in a way he never expected. It all started when a tiny creature, no bigger than Bubby's paw, appeared at the edge of the jungle clearing. It was a rhinoceros beetle, with a large, curved horn on its head and tough, shiny armor. Bubby was curious. The beetle looked so small compared to him, and yet there was something bold about it. "Hello," called Bubby, trotting over to the beetle. "I've never seen you around here before. What's your name?" The beetle stood tall and raised its horn proudly. "I am Rhino, the rhinoceros beetle. I come from the farthest parts of the jungle, and I've heard stories about your speed, little lion." Bubby puffed out his chest. "Well, I am fast. I can race across the jungle faster than anyone." Rhino looked at him with a sly smile. "I'm not so sure about that. I've been told that even though I'm small, I have the heart of a champion. How about a race? You and me right now." Bubby blinked. A race with a beetle? He had never raced anyone so small, and he was sure he could win without even trying. "You're on," Bubby declared, eager to show off his speed. The race would take place through the jungle, starting at the tall banyan tree and ending at the sparkling river. Bubby and Rhino stood at the starting line, with a group of animals gathered to watch. There were monkeys swinging from trees, parrots squawking excitedly, and even a few curious giraffes peering from behind the bushes. "Ready, set, go," shouted the wise old owl, who would be the referee. Bubby zoomed off, his legs pumping fast. He darted between trees, his golden fur a blur as he raced through the jungle. He could hear Rhino's little legs clacking behind him, but he wasn't worried. He was far ahead, and the finish line was just ahead. But as he pushed through the jungle, something strange began to happen. Bubby was fast, but the jungle was tricky. Thick vines twisted in his path, and fallen branches slowed him down. He had to jump over rocks, dodge puddles, and squeezed through narrow spaces. Each time he thought he had a clear path, something new slowed him down. Behind him, Rhino was making his way through the jungle, steady and strong. The little beetle didn't rush, but his armor protected him from the vines, and his horn helped him push through any obstacle. Rhino wasn't fast like Bubby, but he was determined. He stayed focused, kept a steady pace, and kept moving forward. As they neared the river, Bubby could feel his muscles burning. The path had become more difficult, and he was tired. He had taken too many shortcuts, and now he was paying for it. Up ahead, he could see Rhino steadily moving toward the finish line, just a few steps behind. "Come on, Bubby. You can do it," shouted a group of monkeys from the trees. Bubby wanted to win so badly. His heart pounded as he pushed himself faster, but his legs were heavy, and he felt like he was running through mud. "I can't give up," Bubby thought to himself. He pushed harder, but every step felt like more work than the last. Rhino, on the other hand, was close now. He wasn't struggling. He was still moving at his own pace, pushing through the jungle with focus and determination. Finally, Bubby reached the riverbank, panting and out of breath. But to his surprise, Rhino had already made it there. The little beetle was standing by the river, smiling proudly. "You did it," Bubby gasped. "You won," Rhino chuckled, his horn gleaming in the sunlight. "No, my friend, we won." Bubby blinked. "What do you mean?" Rhino explained. "I may be smaller than you, but I knew that racing isn't just about being the fastest. It's about knowing the path, being strong, and not giving up. You were fast, Bubby, but you didn't pace yourself. You rushed and got tired. I didn't rush, and I kept going even when it was tough. That's how I reached the river." Bubby's ears drooped as he thought about it. He realized that Rhino was right. Winning wasn't just about speed. It was about perseverance, focus, and making the right choices along the way. Bubby sat down by the river, taking deep breaths to recover. "I guess I still have a lot to learn," he said quietly. Rhino smiled and patted him with his horn. "We all have things to learn, Bubby. The best racers don't always win by being the fastest. They win by being the smartest, the strongest, and the most patient." From that day on, Bubby practiced pacing himself and thinking ahead. He learned that rushing through life might get you ahead in the short run, but taking your time, focusing, and not giving up would always help you in the long run. Bubby and Rhino became great friends, racing together many times after that. Sometimes Bubby won, and sometimes Rhino did, but every race taught Bubby something new. And one thing was certain: Bubby would never forget the lesson that Rhino had taught him, that true strength comes from perseverance, focus, and not giving up, no matter how tough the road ahead might be.
In a jungle filled with tall trees and lush green grass, lived a small lion cub named Bubby. Bubby had golden fur that shimmered in the sunlight and a brave heart that loved exploring every corner of the wild jungle. He was quick, clever, and always eager for adventure. But there was one thing that scared him more than anything else: the king cobra, the largest and most dangerous snake in the jungle. The king cobra wasn't just feared for its size, but also for its cunning and wisdom. It was said to be as old as the jungle itself and had the ability to see and understand everything around it. While most animals tried to stay far away from the king cobra, Bubby couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to face his fear. One sunny afternoon, as Bubby played with his friends, monkeys swinging from vines and parrots squawking above, he heard a loud hiss from the depths of the jungle. It wasn't the usual sound of a snake. This hiss was deeper, almost commanding. Bubby's heart raced as he turned to see the shadow of the king cobra slithering toward the clearing. All the animals froze. The monkeys stopped mid-swing, the birds went silent, and even the trees seemed to hold their breath. The king cobra had arrived, and with it, a sense of mystery. Bubby, feeling both afraid and curious, stepped forward. "What brings you to our jungle, mighty king cobra?" he asked, his voice shaking just a little. The king cobra's eyes gleamed like emeralds. "I have come to offer you a challenge, little lion," it said in a voice as smooth as silk. "There is a hidden part of the jungle, a place where the sun never sets and the air smells of sweet nectar. It is a place that only those who are truly brave can find. I will give you a chance to discover it. If you can pass the tests I set for you, you will be rewarded. But if you fail, you will never find your way back home. Bubby's heart pounded in his chest. The jungle was full of mysteries, but he had never heard of this place. Despite his fear of the king cobra, Bubby knew this was a challenge he couldn't pass up. I accept your challenge, he declared boldly. The king cobra smiled, revealing its sharp fangs. Very well, little lion. Your first test will be one of courage. The king cobra led Bubby through the thick jungle, down hidden paths that even the animals of the jungle didn't know. They soon arrived at the edge of a high cliff. The ground below was covered in a deep fog that made it impossible to see what lay beneath. The trees on either side of the cliff stretched far above, casting long, dark shadows over the area. "This is the Cliff of Shadows," said the king cobra, its voice echoing in the air. "To move forward, you must jump from this cliff into the fog below. But beware, the shadows may trick you. Not everything you see is real." Bubby's eyes widened. The fog looked thick and endless, and the shadows seemed to move as if alive. Bubby had never jumped from such a high place before. His legs shook with doubt. "You can do it, Bubby," a voice from behind called out. It was his best friend, a monkey named Miko, who had followed them to watch. "Remember, you're braver than you think." Bubby took a deep breath, and with all the courage he could muster, leaped into the fog. For a moment he couldn't see anything, and his heart raced. Was he falling into nothingness? Then suddenly his paws landed firmly on solid ground. The fog cleared, and he realized he had made it to the other side of the cliff. "Congratulations, Bubby," the king cobra hissed. "You passed the first test, but now for the second test, wisdom." They continued their journey until they reached a wide river with waters as clear as glass. But something strange was happening. The river was flowing backward against the current. "This is the enchanted river," the king cobra explained. "The river is known to confuse those who are not wise. To cross it, you must find the hidden bridge that lies beneath the water. But beware, there are many false paths. Only the wise can find the right one." Bubby stared at the river. There was no way to see beneath the clear water, and the current was strong. His first instinct was to jump in and swim across, but something told him that might be a mistake. He thought for a moment. His mind raced as he looked around. Then he remembered something his father had told him. "When you're faced with a difficult challenge, don't rush. Think before you act." Bubby began to walk along the river's edge, scanning the water carefully. After a while, he spotted something unusual, a faint shimmer beneath the surface. He carefully stepped into the river, and following the shimmer, he found a hidden stone path leading across the river. The king cobra watched silently, impressed. "You have passed the second test, young lion. Now the final test awaits." They soon arrived at the heart of the jungle, where the trees grew thick and tall, and the air smelled of sweet nectar. The king cobra stopped and turned to Bubby. "This is the heart of the jungle," the king cobra said. "In this place, there is only one way forward. You must face your greatest fear. The path ahead is shrouded in darkness, and only those who are truly brave can walk through it." Bubby felt a chill run down his spine. He had faced so many challenges already, but this test was different. He had to face his fear of the king cobra itself. The idea of standing up to the snake that terrified him most was almost too much to bear. But then he remembered the lessons he had learned. Courage, wisdom, and now he needed something more. Belief in himself. Bubby closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and stepped into the darkness. The path was narrow, and every step felt heavier than the last. The shadows seemed to close in around him, and Bubby could feel his heart race. But instead of turning back, he kept moving forward. He felt his fear, but he didn't let it stop him. Slowly, the darkness began to lift, and he saw the light shining ahead. Finally, he emerged from the darkness, and the king cobra was waiting for him with a proud smile. "You have passed all 3 tests, Bubby," the king cobra said. "You are brave, wise, and strong. But most importantly, you have learned that true courage comes from within." As a reward, the king cobra led Bubby to the hidden grove, the magical place where the sun never set and the air smelled of sweet nectar. The grove was filled with flowers of every color, and the animals who lived there were peaceful and kind. You now know what it takes to be truly courageous, Bubby, the king cobra said. Remember, courage isn't about being fearless. It's about facing your fears and moving forward despite them. Bubby felt proud, but also grateful. He had learned that courage wasn't about being the strongest or the fastest. It was about believing in yourself and never giving up. From that day on, Bubby was no longer afraid of the king cobra or anything else in the jungle. He had faced his fears, and now he knew that true bravery came from the heart. In a vast and wild jungle, where the trees touched the sky and the rivers sparkled in the sunlight, lived a small lion cub named Bubby. Bubby was adventurous, brave, and curious. He had bright golden fur and big sparkling eyes that were always filled with wonder. However, despite his bravery, there was one thing that made him feel uneasy: the caiman, a giant reptile that lived in the dark, murky river of the jungle. No one in the jungle dared to get too close to the river because the caiman was known to be cunning, swift, and mysterious. One day, as Bubby was playing near the edge of the jungle, he heard a deep, rumbling voice calling out to him from the shadows. "Little lion cub, I have been watching you," the voice said. Bubby's fur stood on end, and he turned around to see the dark shape of the caiman emerging from the thick jungle brush. Its green scales glimmered in the sunlight, and its yellow eyes glowed like two fiery lanterns. "Who are you, and why are you watching me?" Bubby asked, trying to sound brave but feeling a bit nervous. "I am the caiman, and I am the guardian of the jungle's secrets," said the reptile, its voice smooth and mysterious. "I have a challenge for you, little lion. If you can face the trials I set, you will learn a great secret about the jungle. But if you fail, you may never know what lies hidden in the heart of the jungle." Bubby's heart raced with excitement and fear. He had always wondered about the jungle's secrets, but the caiman seemed so fierce and wise. "What is the challenge?" Bubby asked, his curiosity outweighing his fear. "You must cross the river of shadows where the caiman lives," the reptile replied. "But be warned, little lion, for the river is full of tricks. Only the clever and brave can make it to the other side. Will you take the challenge?" Bubby's mind raced. He had always wanted to explore the heart of the jungle, but crossing the river of shadows seemed like an impossible task. Still, he couldn't resist the allure of the secret that lay beyond. "I accept your challenge," Bubby said with determination. The caiman led Bubby to the river of shadows, where the water was dark and swift. The river twisted and turned through the jungle, its surface reflecting the towering trees and swirling mist. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, and the sound of rushing water filled the air. "The first trial is to cross the river," the caiman said, its voice echoing through the trees. "But be careful. This river is full of tricks. It can play with your mind and lead you astray. You must use your wits, not just your strength, to make it across." Bubby looked at the dark water, feeling the current pulling at his paws. He wasn't sure how to cross, but he knew he couldn't back down now. He saw a series of stones jutting out from the water, leading across the river. Without hesitation, Bubby stepped onto the first stone. As Bubby leaped from one stone to the next, the water began to shimmer, and strange shadows appeared beneath the surface. Bubby's mind began to play tricks on him. He saw a shadow of a giant crocodile in the water, its mouth wide open, ready to snap. Bubby froze in fear, but then he remembered something his mother had told him. When the world seems confusing, take a deep breath and focus on what's real. Bubby closed his eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and focused on the sound of his own paws tapping on the stones. He opened his eyes and the shadows began to fade. With renewed confidence, Bubby continued across the river, his paws steady and his heart calm. When he reached the other side, the caiman was waiting for him, its eyes gleaming with approval. "You have passed the first trial, young lion. You used your wits and stayed calm under pressure. Now for the second trial." The caiman led Bubby deeper into the jungle, through a thick and tangled forest. The trees grew so tall and close together that the sunlight barely reached the ground. The air was heavy with the scent of moss and earth. As they walked, Bubby began to hear strange noises echoing through the trees. The sounds seemed to come from all directions: whispers, footsteps, and even distant roars. "This is the forest of echoes," the caiman explained. "In this place, your fears will speak to you in the form of sounds. If you let the echoes confuse you, you will lose your way. You must find the path forward and follow it without fear." Bubby's ears perked up as he heard a roar from behind him. He spun around, but there was nothing there. Then from the other side, he heard the sound of footsteps, growing louder and closer. Bubby's heart began to race. Was it the caiman? Or something worse? His paws trembled as he took a step forward, but the footsteps seemed to follow him. He remembered what the caiman had said. This was a place where fears took shape and sound. Bubby took a deep breath and focused on his senses. He realized the sounds were just echoes. The footsteps were not real. The roars were not from any animal in the jungle. Stepping carefully, Bubby closed his eyes and let the sounds fade into the background. He followed his instinct and kept moving forward, trusting his heart and his senses. As he walked, the sounds began to disappear, and soon he saw a path opening before him. When he emerged from the forest, the caiman was waiting once again. "You have passed the second trial, little lion. You were not fooled by the echoes. Now, for the final test." The caiman led Bubby to a dark cave, its entrance covered by thick vines. The air was cold and damp, and the darkness inside seemed to swallow everything around it. The caiman turned to Bubby and said, "This is the Cave of Shadows. Inside you will face your greatest fear. You must enter the cave, confront what you fear most, and return to the light. Only then will you truly understand the secret of the jungle." Bubby stood at the entrance of the cave, his heart racing. He had faced many challenges before, but this one felt different. He wasn't sure what he was about to face, but he knew it was something that would test him like never before. With a deep breath, Bubby stepped into the cave. Inside, the darkness seemed alive. Shadows moved across the walls and strange shapes appeared in the corners of Bubby's vision. He felt the ground beneath him tremble. Then out of the darkness, a giant shadow lunged at him, and Bubby froze in fear. The shadow was tall, dark, and menacing, its eyes glowing like fire. But Bubby quickly realized that the shadow wasn't real. It was a reflection of his own fear. Bubby closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and stepped forward, pushing past the fear. When he opened his eyes again, the shadow had vanished, and the cave was bathed in soft golden light. The caiman was waiting at the entrance. "You have faced your greatest fear and emerged victorious, young lion. You have learned that true courage is not the absence of fear, but the strength to face it." The caiman smiled, and with a flick of its tail, the vines parted, revealing a hidden grove beyond the cave. The grove was beautiful, filled with sparkling flowers and trees that hummed with magic. The air was filled with the scent of sweet fruit, and the jungle creatures danced and played in the sunlight. "This is the heart of the jungle, Bubby," the caiman said. "The secret is not just in the land, but in you. The jungle reveals its secrets to those who are brave, wise, and true to themselves. You have proven yourself worthy of this knowledge." Bubby smiled, his heart filled with joy and pride. He had faced his fears, used his wits, and learned that true courage comes from within. From that day on, Bubby was no longer afraid of the unknown. He knew that no matter what challenges came his way, he could face them with bravery, wisdom, and a calm heart.
In the dense jungle, where the sunlight danced through the trees and the rivers sang cheerful songs, lived a little lion cub named Bubby. He was brave, curious, and loved exploring every corner of the jungle. Bubby's golden fur shone in the sunlight, and though his mane was still growing, his adventurous spirit was as big as the mighty lions of the savannah. One day, as Bubby was chasing colorful butterflies near the jungle stream, he overheard two turtles talking. "Have you heard about the hidden spring?" one turtle said. "Oh yes," replied the other. "It's guarded by a giant salamander. They say whoever drinks from the spring gains incredible strength and courage, but no one dares approach it." Bubby's ears perked up. "Strength and courage," he whispered to himself. "I could become the bravest lion in the entire jungle." Without a second thought, Bubby padded over to the turtles. "Excuse me, where can I find this hidden spring?" The turtles looked at him in surprise. "Oh, little lion, it's far away, deep in the heart of the jungle," said the older turtle. But beware, the giant salamander is very protective of it. Many have tried to reach the spring, but they all turned back in fear. Bubby puffed out his chest. I'm not afraid. I'll find the spring and prove myself. The turtles exchanged worried glances, but gave him directions. Follow the stream until you reach the Whispering Cave, the older turtle said. From there, the path will reveal itself. Bubby started his journey, excitement bubbling in his chest. He followed the winding stream, listening to its cheerful gurgles. Along the way, he encountered a family of parrots squawking about a storm, a group of playful monkeys, and even a wise old snake who offered riddles instead of advice. The jungle grew denser as he walked, the air cooler and darker. Eventually, he reached the Whispering Cave. The entrance was large and covered in moss, and every time the wind blew through it, it sounded like soft whispers. Creepy, Bubby muttered. But he was determined. He stepped inside. Inside the cave, the whispers grew louder. Turn back. Turn back, they seemed to say. Bubby's paws trembled, but he pressed on, lighting his way with a glowing crystal he found near the entrance. Courage, Bubby, he whispered to himself. You can do this. Suddenly, the ground beneath him shifted. He leapt back just in time to avoid a deep crack that opened in the cave floor. Whoa, that was close. The whispers grew softer, as if they approved of his bravery. At the end of the cave, he found a narrow path leading into a clearing bathed in golden light. The clearing was breathtaking. At its center was the hidden spring, its waters sparkling like liquid diamonds. But guarding it was the most enormous salamander Bubby had ever seen. Its shiny, black and orange skin glistened in the light, and its eyes glowed a deep amber. Who dares approach my spring? Boomed the salamander. Bubby froze, but quickly stood tall. I am Bubby, and I've come to drink from the spring to become the bravest lion in the jungle. The salamander tilted its massive head. Bravery, you say? Many have come here seeking power for themselves. What makes you different? Bubby thought for a moment. I want to be brave so I can protect my friends and help others in the jungle. The salamander studied him silently, then rumbled. Very well. But to prove your heart is pure, you must pass 3 tests. The salamander led Bubby to a patch of thorny bushes, where a small bird was trapped. Its wing was caught, and it chirped pitifully. Help this bird, the salamander said. But beware, the thorns are sharp. Bubby carefully stepped forward, using his teeth and claws to gently pull the thorns away. He winced as a thorn pricked his paw, but he didn't stop until the bird was free. Thank you, chirped the bird. It flew away, leaving a soft feather behind. The salamander nodded. You have passed the first test. Kindness is the foundation of true courage. Next, the salamander brought Bubby to a fork in the path. One path leads to safety, the other to danger. Choose wisely. Bubby looked closely at the 2 paths. One was wide and well-trodden, while the other was narrow and covered in vines. He thought about the salamander's words and realized the obvious path might be a trick. I choose the narrow path, Bubby said confidently. The salamander smiled. Well done. True wisdom lies in thinking beyond appearances. For the final test, the salamander led Bubby back to the spring. Suddenly, the ground began to quake, and the sky darkened. A fierce roar echoed through the clearing. Face your greatest fear, the salamander said. Out of the shadows emerged a giant shadowy figure, its eyes glowing red. Bubby's fur stood on end, and his heart raced. It reminded him of the stories of jungle monsters he'd heard as a cub. But then he remembered why he was here, to protect his friends and help others. Summoning all his courage, Bubby stepped forward and let out his loudest roar. Stay back, he shouted. You won't scare me. The shadow dissolved, revealing it was just an illusion. The salamander chuckled. You have passed the test of courage. True bravery is standing firm, even when you are afraid. The salamander stepped aside, allowing Bubby to drink from the spring. The water was cool and refreshing, and as he drank, He felt a warmth spread through him. It wasn't just strength, it was confidence, kindness, and a deep understanding of what it meant to be brave. The salamander spoke again. You have proven yourself worthy, little lion. Go forth and use your strength for good. Bubby bowed. Thank you, wise salamander. I promised to make you proud. When Bubby returned to the jungle, he found his friends waiting for him. They marveled at his courage and listened eagerly as he shared his story. From that day on, Bubby used his newfound strength and bravery to help others, whether it was rescuing a trapped friend, solving tricky problems, or standing up to challenges. And the jungle, with its hidden spring and its brave little lion, thrived in harmony and happiness.